एक्चुअली सबसे पहले तो मैं आप लोगों को धन्यवाद दे रहा हूं कि आप लोगों ने जो सवाल हमने उठाया था उस समय आप लोगों ने तुरंत उसके सलूशन की बात किया और एकदम हमें बहुत अच्छा लगा कि हम लोग कुछ एरिया में जाके कुछ एनजीओस के साथ में और एनजीओस को आइडेंटिफाई करें या महिला शक्ति जैसे फेडरेशन को आइडेंटिफाई करें। महिला शक्ति तो एक एनजीओ भी नहीं, वो एक फेडरेशन है जिसको ह्यूमन वेलफेयर एसोसिएशन फैसिलिटेट करता है। लेकिन क्या हम लोग को ये जिम्मेदारी नहीं कि जो लोग एकदम काफ़ी ऊपर बैठे हुए हैं, जानकार हैं, जिनके पास में जानकारी है, वो ऐसे लोगों को लेकर के और महिला शक्ति फेडरेशन जो बिना किसी बैंक के, बिना किसी माइक्रो फाइनेंस कंपनी के एजेंडे में, बिना किसी बैंक के एजेंडे के अगर 2.25 करोड़ रुपए का ट्रांजेक्शन इनके बीच में हो रहा है, 2.25 करोड़ रुपया जो किसी से भी नहीं लिया, किसी एनजीओ से भी नहीं लिया, डोनर से नहीं लिया, बैंक से नहीं लिया, और वो लोग अपने पैर पे खड़े होकर अगर काम कर रहे हैं। 750 महिलाएं अगर महाजन के चंगुल से, मनी लेंडर के क्लब से फ्री हो सकती है और 50 साल में, 55 साल के एज में पढ़ाई कर सकती है, सीख सकती हैं, तो ये निश्चित तौर पे हम वेलकम करेंगे कि आप लोग इन चीज़ों को प्लीज़ वहाँ पे डालें ताकि दूसरे लोग इससे सीख सके, ये एप्लीकेट हो सके, बड़े पैमाने पे स्प्रेड हो सके। और वाराणसी के रूरल एरिया में वीवर्स कम्युनिटी आज की तारीख में बहुत प्रॉब्लम फेस कर रही है क्योंकि मार्केट ओपन हो चुका है, चाइना का थ्रेट है, दूसरी कंट्रीज का थ्रेट है, कारपेट में प्रॉब्लम हो रही है, हैंडीक्राफ्ट में प्रॉब्लम हो रही है, हाथ से मशीन से बनी हुई चीज़ों को हाथ करके बेचा जा रहा है। ये बहुत बड़ी एक समस्या हो रही है, लाइवलीहुड लोगों की खत्म हो रही है। 20-25 रुपये जोड़ती की महिला जो काम करती है घर में बैठ करके, और सरकार मनरेगा में 120 रुपये मिट्टी फेंकने वाले को दे रही है। स्किल्ड लोग अनस्किल्ड में ट्रांसफर हो रहे हैं। एक तरफ हम बात कर रहे हैं पूरी दुनिया में कि स्किल्ड होना चाहिए, और सोचिए कि 120 रुपये मिट्टी फेंकने वाला है, जबकि कानून है सरकार का, कोई भी काम मांगेगा तो उसको काम की 100 दिन की गारंटी देना है। तो फेसबुक जैसे या सोशल मीडिया जैसे उस पर हम लोग क्यों नहीं बड़े पैमाने पर एडवोकेसी कैंपेन के रूप में सरकार के उस पर हैमर कर सकते हैं कि वो जरदोजी की महिला बोलते हम यही काम करेंगे, आप हमको इसी में 100 दिन की गारंटी दो। तो मेरा रिक्वेस्ट है आप लोगों से कि आप जो लोग भी चाहते हैं, हम कार्ड भी आपको देंगे और आप वाराणसी आइए, रूरल एरिया में आइए, इनके साथ में बैठिए, बात करिए, अपनी टीम को भेजिए, और जो लेवल पे, लोकल लेवल पे फैसिलिटीज चाहिए वो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन वहाँ पे आपको फैसिलिटेट करने के लिए, वॉलंटियर लगाने के लिए साथ में तैयार है और हम लोग सपोर्ट करने के लिए तैयार है। लेकिन प्लीज़ आइए और नीचे की चीज़ों को बाहर निकाल करके पूरी दुनिया में स्प्रेड करिए। थैंक यू।
You want to say something? Okay, go ahead.
Two quick points. One,
Just introduce yourself.
my name is Akila. I'm just actually dropping in this session because I'm interested in social media. Two quick points. One, to acknowledge the Hindi comment. I feel like right now, especially India, since it's such a it's really hard to do business here because of language and whatnot, but I think people have already recognized that language and language localization is very important. How many of you guys have seen the Google reunion video that just went really viral? So that is literally the perfect example of Google, who's doing business in India, has embraced Hindi as a language, and they're doing it really well. So I think people are doing it, and they're going to continue doing it. Secondly, to go back to this gentleman's point about how to help grassroots NGOs to get that scale. So I know that there are consultancies out there that you pay for, but I think, and like you said, that they can't afford them. I think what they need is resources, and what they need are pro bono resources. Just quickly, I just recently moved to India, but when I'm from San Francisco. When I was there, I was working, but in my free time, there's a pro bono consultancy where young professionals, they don't have time to go do very grassroots level, they don't have time to go start their own NGO, for example. But they do have those professional skills, whether it's social media or whether it's Salesforce, whether it's any sort of technical skill that can help these NGOs. So I think what India needs, because there are so many different NGOs in so many different geographic regions, is a pro bono consultancy in each city, where this network connects NGOs and the young professionals, where each NGO is given a grant, but they need to have a specific need. So hey, I need to get my nonprofit social media presence. So it would connect it into a young professional who is willing to spend those 4 or 5 hours a week to do that. Because, for example, YPOL, you said that you guys want to do those kind of projects, but you can only do a few projects. How do you get that kind of scale? And I do think this sort of network in each city is something that someone needs to start. I'm not exactly sure how to go about starting such a network, but if you guys have any ideas, that would be awesome.
Okay, I think that's a great point, and one question there would be is how do you encourage companies? Usually, corporates would be involved in this sort of a pro bono, a contribution of professional time on a pro bono basis, and for that, I mean, to make it sustainable, it might be a good idea to explore, for example, if that can be considered as part of the CSR contribution that companies have to mandatorily make, and so on. If that were the case, that would, because obviously, I mean, that can translate into a fair bit of professional time being contributed. We're just looking at ways to make it sustainable. So while it is, it's pro bono, how do you actually encourage companies to go out and do it? So any ideas there would be great. You had something on this point?
Without hogging the time, I'll share just two quick examples, which actually shares my thoughts on what has already been discussed. Like Subhanshu mentioned, while content is king, Israel correctly mentioned, a lot of people working in grassroots don't have the impetus to start. You need a Facebook page or a YouTube account to put that content in. The last Holi, I work as a digital consultant. For those who don't know me, I work as a digital consultant, and the brands pay my bills. But I volunteer time. I work with a lot of NGOs, and I speak at a lot of conferences like these. And one of these events, one NGO came up to me, and this was Avakyam, and they are an institute for disabled people. And every Holi, they have a stall at Delhi Heart where they make natural colors made by disabled people. And obviously, they don't have resources. They had a Facebook page which had 9 likes, essentially the entire staff of Avakyam, and they wanted something to do about it. And I just volunteered few hours, honestly, just few hours that week. It was a week before Holi. I volunteered a few weeks, made a quick video, just a random video with the photos that they sent in. And they've got good photos from their institute, the work that they've done, and the colorful photos from the stall that they put in. And when Holi arrived, it was just a week. We had about 250, 300 likes, just to give numbers for people who understand metrics here. And after that, and that was it. I did not contribute further to it. And after that, it just went viral because obviously Delhi Heart is a popular destination in South Delhi. So people go there, people buy colors, and then they look that up on the web, and the Facebook link is the first one that they arrive at. And then the recommendations started. So one they started selling more than years before. They've been doing it for a long time, but I didn't know that. One, they started selling more than what they did. Also, it's now a complete online platform for them. They solicit events, they solicit queries for those colors beforehand, and it's going big. So while content is the king, like Kapil mentioned, and I volunteer for a lot of NGOs. If some of us, and the pro bono consulting piece comes here, if some of us contribute that time, get them started, then the content and the good work that they are doing at grassroots is all they can take. Second, I volunteer for Black Noise, which is a entire street sexual harassment thing, and I've been one of the early volunteers. So I've been out at the streets doing interventions for them, managing their booths at IHC when they did events, and all that was because I was in college and I had good time to do activism. I was young, and that was the time. But as I started working, had less time. I've hardly been to any intervention that they've done, but I managed their entire online piece. So that's a pro bono consulting that offers. We are a volunteer-led. We've got foundations from some associations, but funds from some foundations. But we are volunteer-led, donor money. So I manage the entire online piece, and they work with a lot of organizations. While they're one platform, it's free, and it's not a commercial venture. So a lot of organizations come in. If there's a women's group that want to raise something, it's a good online audience that they can offer. Both they've got an active blog and on Facebook. So between those organizations, which are, for example, Safe City, between those organizations which are working on one thing or one domain, they can get together, and of course, people like us can always contribute. And for anybody who needs my help, we can take this offline, and I can contribute.
Okay, great. Yeah, Anika, and then we'll come to you.
I'm Aditya. I'm the co-founder of socialsamosa.com. So coming to the point that she was talking about, there are already organizations who are, empowering people or teaching them basic tools. Like for example, Facebook or Google, they do it in their offices in Hyderabad or Bangalore or Delhi or whatever. But yeah, the reach is lesser. They do it. Google has done a lot for women entrepreneurs and promoting the whole culture there. But there is even NASCOM Foundation does that fairly actively across about 5 to 6 cities in India, and they have a specific domain which is only for NGOs, where they teach you Google Docs, they teach you Microsoft Word, they teach you Facebook, they teach you Twitter, they teach you how to blog, and basically A to Z of what a social media fresher would be learning. And they call in about 15 NGOs from that particular city and surrounding areas, and it's
How do you call them in?
I have worked with them on one of the workshops, which is why I know how it kind of works. So they call in there are criterias for NGOs to apply, and they call in about 10 to 15 NGOs, and basically it's a hands-on workshop wherein you discuss your actual problems and you try and solve it there. So it goes on for 2 days, and by the end of it, you actually try to come up with a good solution than sharing knowledge. So these guys have been doing it fairly actively, and I think it's picking up very good traction as well. So that's one area, and Intellicap Foundation also, they have also been moving towards the social media, digital media segment fairly slowly, because I mean that's not their area of expertise, but they have been going there fairly actively, and the enterprises they are working with and stuff, even those have gotten quite active as of now.
I think from what I understood of what she was saying, also though, I was envisioning that she was talking about a platform where people like yourself, for example, who have a professional skill, not necessarily skilling. So what you were talking about is teaching somebody a skill, but saying, look, I have a skill, I've studied, I've developed it, etc., and I'm willing to donate like 4 hours of my time every week. So where can I find a list of causes that need skills like mine, and where can
Right.
it's something that networks people in every city who have by the amount of time you have and the skills that you have to projects that are worthy and in need of them, of their support. And you may not necessarily go in and teach somebody how to do something. You may just say, okay, I'm going to come in and I'm going to make a great video for you, and that'll be it, and you can use that.
A lot of times they don't actually want to build out that skill set. They want to put their efforts on actually what their nonprofit is doing. They just want someone to do hey, I want a Salesforce implementation for these students that I'm working, or these students that I manage, or hey, I just want a brochure for this event that's coming up at the end of the year. They don't want to learn those skills per se.
So, I think in a different context, but I can't recollect the name of the company, but there's a company based out of Bangalore, I think, in which you can invest money, and that actually goes to rural farmers. It's not related to social media at all, but the concept, and they're fairly big as well. Rangde is one of them again, where you can actually invest money. It goes into the actual implementation. They send you pictures back and stuff like that. But I don't think in India as of now there is a platform what you're talking about, at least for this, this sector.
So I think clearly there is space for, I mean, there are lots of companies doing lots of things in the social space, but there's clearly space for bringing together the needs of, on one side, on the demand side, as it were, the needs of NGOs and others working in the social space, and companies who may not be proactively doing this, but may be willing to, because for example, a lot of people approach corporates for donations or let's say sponsorships, and and today increasingly companies are more and more hesitant to put in lots of money into sponsoring college events and school events and something. But in a situation where they're approached for a suggestion that they contribute maybe a part of their communication professionals' time for a communication exercise for an NGO, I see very few companies who would decline that. So clearly the challenge or the requirement or the problem statement is that we need that platform. We need to bring these guys together and say that, okay, this is what's required and which companies would be able to do it. And it would really help if, in addition, we could say that, okay, this is part of CSR, which is then recordable as a CSR expense. Go ahead, and Anika.
Yeah, 2 seconds. I know I'm talking a lot. One of the things on the corporate level, 2 things that I can quickly think of. One is that I know there are probably tons of companies that do this, but I know, for example, that Microsoft used to have a policy where, wherein employees who donated, could donate time while they were on the clock. That was part of there are other companies that have such initiatives. And then the other thing I was going to mention on the corporate level is that what Google used to do, which I've seen less of recently, but they used to donate bit on there underneath the Google search box on the homepage. They would put occasionally the names of really worthy organizations and nonprofits, sort of upworthy from a company perspective, but basically they were giving that organization millions and millions of views that day. Right, yeah. So they do stuff like that.
So I was just messaging my team actually while you guys were talking. I think this kind of a marketplace is a fairly good idea. And I mean, as an organization, not even saying as part of my social karma, but as an organization, I think I would like to kind of take an opportunity and build this kind of a marketplace, work with organizations like Manthan to identify the NGOs that can enroll into that, work with corporates as part of their CSR initiatives to get employee timing and other things integrated. But I think this kind of a exchange is a fantastic idea. I mean, it's as good as any job education board or job portal that you would build to connect with people who are looking for a job or people who are seeking employee kind of engagement. But I think this marketplace is a fantastic idea. So I would take it on.
Excellent. I think we are really getting somewhere. So an exchange or marketplace, someone's taking it on straight away. I'm sure there are other ideas, and there are a lot of lots of sectors and niches in which you can actually do this. And it's like yesterday among the projects we had somebody doing a flats without brokers kind of thing. So like that, there's obviously a lot of scope for focused segments like this, where you're creating exchanges for communications, for videos. I mean, companies who are doing videos anyway, corporate videos, they could possibly donate a part of their time for actually doing videos, maybe at a low cost or no cost for the sector. That's really great. So I'd like to just expand this a little bit and get in some inputs now from those who have ideas around this or issues that they're facing around this from the work that they're doing. Can I just go back and I'll come back to the inner table? You had a point, sir? Go ahead.
Small input I wanted to give.
Go ahead.
There is a website, UC, WhyWereYou. This connects the resources in terms of time and talent to the non-profits. You can check it out.
What is the website?
WhyWereYou.
UC, okay.
Yeah. The logo is something like a smiley.
Okay. Is this an Indian site?
Yeah.
UC dot whatever, com or in or something. Yeah.
Or you can put it.
Okay, that's a great input. So we have something like that. Let's check that out. Anybody else with, especially among the finalists or other people involved out there? Some, I'd love to hear of any examples where you've at very low cost been able to, reach out, fundraise, whatever. I don't know if your example was very low cost.
Actually, hi, my name is Siddharth. I actually support an organization called Olympic Gold Quest. And so budget is a relative thing. I think, so I'll give you the specific numbers that they've spent over 2 years in doing this outreach. They've spent 3 lakhs over a course of about 20 months. So I don't think that's particularly expensive, because that money, and they've used this to build, we've taken their social presence from about 1,000 people to now 2.5 million people. So I think it's not too much of money to spend on that sort of reach. And I think one of the things which we deal with a couple of NGOs, and I can see the difference between both of these. Both of these started out at exactly the same space. And Olympic Gold Quest is very disciplined in terms of being very involved, being very proactive with sending you content, what are they doing. The other charity we do work for, I mean, they're great guys. I think they have a great cause, but they, they aren't as participative. They like the idea that somebody's doing this for them. They like the idea that this is getting put out on social media, but they are not particularly involved. It's more like, okay, you're doing it for me, great. I'm, one tick that I am doing this, but I don't think they particularly understand what social media could do for them. So I think a lot of it also boils down to the specific NGO that you're working with, how well they just understand what this could do, how it could, increase their reach. With Olympic Gold Quest, one of the things that they've done very successfully is that every single piece of communication, they try and just plug it into, right from if they're participating at an event, they will mention, oh, we're going to do updates on our social page. Can you join? Be it in a school, be it in an event at the Taj, all their emailers, so pretty much little things like, they ensure that everywhere where they're doing things, they try and connect the dots to their social presence, because they think that is the focal point of their at least public face.
Okay, good, great input there. Yes, go ahead.
I am S.K. Vidhan, General Manager, MP Warehousing and Logistics Corporation. Yesterday, I shown my presentation that the MP was facing the storage space. So if 1% of procurement is lost, it will cost around 200 crores. So how to save it, we made a small presentation before the cabinet, and it was approved, and thereafter with a small cost of 40 paisa per metric ton, and within 2 months we got 70 lakh metric ton capacity, and we saved crores of rupees and national losses. So in this way we may do so many things.
Yeah, okay. So that's an obviously the scale there is very, very dramatic, but good input there. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Anshul. I run a website called Ki Awaaz. One of the things that we've done on Ki Awaaz is create content that can really go viral very fast, and specifically for causes, in fact. So I'll give you 2 examples. One is a long campaign we did with Oxfam, where they had a campaign going on to bridge the gender gap, and in different spaces, in public administration, in government services, in various other places. And they had a lot of data, they had a lot of research, and they were really trying to push it on social media, but it wasn't reaching a critical mass. People were not getting interested. So what we did was we broke down that research into very interesting stories. Something that, I think somebody mentioned Upworthy. So I think something like that. And we created a kind of a, story panel where the content that was created for Oxfam was not really for themselves to consume, it was for the normal layman to consume. And what we saw that within a week, we were able to get them about 100,000 likes on their Facebook page, only by telling about 10, 20 stories that were really getting shared very fast. Similar was, a case with another coalition that nobody actually knew about till a few months ago. Their name is Vadana Todo Abhiyan, and they are working around the post-2015 Millennium Development Goals agenda. And they had a lot of research as well. They wanted to reach out to a very critical mass. So again, where there also what we did was we created stories based on their researches and data from the perspective of somebody who's on social media, not interested, but how do we mobilize that person and engage that person and make them interested. And what happened was that those stories, I think we did about 60 of them, they landed on about, I think, 500,000 timelines, and they got about 250,000, so 250,000 people signing up on their email list within a month. And obviously they also went crazy seeing those numbers, but now they have a really engaged audience, and now they're able to push their data and research out in the right manner to really mobilize them around whatever their causes are. So I think more than just putting up updates and sharing whatever is happening in the organization and so on, what really is important for social media or any technology for that matter is if you're able to create that content which is served specifically for the users who are disengaged, disenchanted probably, but want to know more about causes and issues, and probably have some time in their life wanted to change the world. So I think that's one thing that we've observed.
So that's that's obviously completely great. It's a great example, and the numbers are amazing. So I think one of the issues here is how do you get this knowledge across, on this learning across, because you're now specialists in this space. You started somewhere and then you've ramped up, and now you know the kind of content that is going to make that kind of impact, go viral, etc. Get 250,000 shares and so many timelines. So any suggestions for that? How can NGOs or others actually leverage this
Sure.
sort of thing?
So one of the suggestions that I would have is that I think people need to move beyond just their Facebook page and Twitter accounts. A lot of non-profits really need to start their own blogs, is what I really think. They need to, so like Facebook, Twitter, blah, 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 are basically the outposts of all that you're doing. The home base is the blog that you start. And the idea is to really get them back to the home base. So that's the place where you should have all the interesting content. And when a person comes back to your home base, they should feel like they want to stay there. And I'll give you an example. Like when you put up a blog post, usually, you would write a normal headline, a normal story. But just to give you an example of 3 organizations, one Upworthy, one Huffington Post, and the other was ProPublica in the US. And they were all covering Mitt Romney during the elections, both Obama and Mitt Romney. And there was this news about taxes on the middle class being levied and so on by Mitt Romney. Huffington Post did a story, and they titled it that Mitt Romney wants to cut your taxes, right? And you read the title on your Facebook timeline, you know what the story says, they'll probably not click on it because you've guessed what the story says. Same was the case with ProPublica. They did a very normal kind of a story. Sorry, it was not ProPublica, it was CNN. The third was Upworthy, and what they titled was that what Mitt Romney wants to do to you will shock you. And they got 250,000 shares, and people going crazy about that story. Plus, when people came on their page, they already had very very visual content. So instead of writing an article, there was an infographic which basically put you in the top and showed what's going to happen to you by the end of, say, the next 5 years or 4 years. And I think that's what really compelled people to share it further and spread that knowledge. So, my only suggestion would be that when this, if nonprofits set up a blog or set up a home base for that content, what the perspective that they need to write or build the content from should really be is, as I said, not yourself, but not the people you personally know, but their friends of friends who are probably not even aware about you, who want to share but don't know how. Also, one quick suggestion would be, what we've seen in almost 5.5 years of working on content on social media is, there are 2 things that work really well with regards to content. One, if you make people really happy, and 2, if you make them really angry. So it's either of the extremes. There is nowhere in the middle that they will ever share your content. If it's a general piece of information, they would really not care. But if it's something that makes them extremely happy or extremely angry, they will share. And there's no doubt on that for sure.